Okay, we're going to talk about the pleura and answer the questions, what are the pleural sacs, what are parietal and visceral pleura, and what roles do pleural fluid and intrapleural pressure play? Man, that's a tongue twister. Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Morton and I'm the noted anatomist. So first question is, what are pleural sacs? Well, a pleural sac is like a fist in a water balloon. Well, there's a balloon and it's filled with water and the outside is latex. And you take your fist and you do this. The fist is not in the balloon. The fist simply pushed in the side of the balloon and is covered in latex. Well, a pleural sac or the pleural sacs are like two fists and two water balloons. There's the lung tissue, think fist, and there's the water balloon, a pleural sac filled with fluid, and the outside's a serous membrane. And you do this, thump. The lung is not in the pleural sac. The lung simply pushed in the side of the pleural sac and is covered in a serous membrane. So the pleural sac, it's a double-layered serous membrane that encloses each lung. The parietal pleura, in blue, lines the thoracic cavity. The visceral pleura, in orange, covers the lung surface, and they are continuous with each other at the root of the lung. And the pleural space, well, that's the fluid-filled space between them. The left and right pleural sacs are separate and they do not communicate with each other. Infection in one right pleural sac may not influence the left. Okay, let's talk about parietal pleura next. The parietal pleura is the outside portion, and the different portions of parietal pleura have specific names based on their location. The costal pleura, costal for ribs, it's the part of the parietal pleura on the inside of the ribs. Diaphragmatic pleura is on top of the diaphragm. Mediastinal pleura is right by the posterior and middle mediastinum. And the cervical pleura, which means cervical for neck, goes up above the clavicle. It's called the cupula. And it's strengthened by the suprapleural membrane or Simpson's fascia, and it anchors to the transverse process of C7. The costodiaphragmatic recess, when we look at the costal pleura and the diaphragmatic pleura and where they meet, there's a recess. It's a space or junction of the costal and diaphragmatic pleura at the lung base. It's also called the costophrenic recess. This is what allows a lung expansion during deep respiration. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. When we now superimpose the rib cage and you can see the lung goes down to C7, see the bottom of the costodiaphragmatic recess, it goes down to rib 10 in the front, but look in the side and the back, it goes all the way down to rib 12. So that's why it's often in the mid-axillary line, pleural fluid is drawn from that costodiaphragmatic recess, less chance of hitting the lung. In an anterior chest x-ray, or a PA, you've got the ribs and the hemidiaphragm and the ribs and the hemidiaphragm, and the costodiaphragmatic angle, we call it angle instead of recess because it looks like an angle in the x-ray. The parietal pleura is innervated by somatic nerves that are adjacent to the parietal pleura. And I mention somatic because these nerves are sensitive to pain. The costal pleura by intercostal nerves, and mediastinal and diaphragmatic pleura by the phrenic nerves. Let's do each one of these separate. In this cross section, there in peach is the lung, and in blue is the costal pleura, and in yellow, that's an intercostal nerve. Now watch. Tiny little somatic nerves are coming from the costal pleura into this intercostal nerve, which includes pain. And that information goes to the spinal cord. But look what also enters the intercostal nerve. Whew. Sensory neurons from the overlying dermatomes. So intercostal nerves receive sensation from costal pleura and the overlying skin in a dermatomal pattern. That's why in pleurisy, which is inflammation of the pleura or friction or pleural rub between the pleural layers, this can cause sharp chest pain. In coronal section, those yellow dots are intercostal nerves, and in peach is the lung, and in blue is the costal pleura. Now let's say that the pleurisy inflames the costal pleura like that and irritates the T3, T4, and T5 intercostal nerves. This is going to cause sharp localized pain that follows the dermatomal distribution, somatic pain. Now the diaphragmatic and mediastinal pleura, receive their somatic sensation from phrenic nerves. There's the diaphragm, and there's the diaphragmatic and mediastinal pleura. And there's the cervical spinal cord with C3, 4, and 5 giving rise to the phrenic nerve going to the diaphragm. Now watch somatic nerves from the diaphragmatic and mediastinal pleura enter the phrenic nerve. So now let's say we look at this mediastinal pleura, okay? Now one thing that happens is the phrenic nerve takes sensation from the mediastinal and diaphragmatic pleura. But also, you've got the C3, C4, 5 spinal nerves that send from their dermatomes to the same spinal cord levels. So if you now irritate the mediastinal pleura, like what you would see in this consolidation in the medial part of the lung, then there's an irritation of the mediastinal pleura, and the spinal cord's like, hey, mediastinal pleura is talking to us, and it never talks to us. What's going on? So it thinks the sensory information is coming from your shoulder, and you get referred pain. This is why irritating mediastinal or diaphragmatic pleura can present with shoulder pain. Let's talk about visceral pleura. The visceral pleura follows the contours of the lung and lobes like that, and it forms this shiny outer surface. So the visceral pleura is continuous with the parietal pleura at the root of the lung. And that's why if you look at a medial view, you see the pulmonary ligament. That's showing where they're continuous. And the visceral pleura is innervated by visceral sensory nerves, which means they are insensitive to pain. That's why I'm not going to talk much about it. The pleural space. The pleural space is a fluid-filled space between the parietal and visceral pleura. And there's like 10 milliliters of pleural fluid on each side, which is like a tablespoon, so it's not a lot. The pleural fluid. Now, during breathing, the lungs slide back and forth within the pleural cavity. Think of rubbing your hands together. To help with this, we have pleural fluid. So when you see the parietal and visceral pleura sliding on each other, like when you're breathing, and you see the ribs and lungs sliding each other, the pleural fluid helps to reduce friction. In the pleural space is the intrapleural pressure, which is the pressure within the pleural space, and it is less than atmospheric pressure. This is so important because it's the subatmospheric pressure that keeps the lungs expanded. So there is the pleural space, and the intrapleural pressure is -5 centimeters of water, which is subatmospheric. It's less than the atmospheric pressure. And finally, pleural terminology, which is things that confuse Dave Morton. Like, what do you call it and when with all these words? Well, anatomists look at this pleura and they say when it lines the wall, we'll call it parietal pleura, and the organ itself, we'll call it visceral pleura. But what's its function? Well, they're serous membranes because they make serous fluid that we call pleural fluid. Well, what's the histological makeup? Well, it's made up of mesothelium. Therefore, parietal and visceral pleura are serous membranes that produce serous or pleural fluid and are composed of mesothelium. And that, my friends, is the pleura in a nutshell.